We're
You're
live.
live. Okay, welcome everybody to talk to the entity facilitators. I have amazing facilitators with me, Prerna Wadhwa, Dattatreya Khanolkar, we call him Dattu, and I am myself Charu, and we all are talk to the entities facilitators. And we're talking about some change, some amazing tools that we use to create our lives in such a different way. And I'm going to ask my friends to talk about like what is your experience with talk to the entities. Prerna.
Oh my God, I'm going first. Okay. Hi, everybody. Actually, what got me to attend a Talk to the Entities class was that I was really scared of ghosts. So, am I audible? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
I was really scared. Like, I wouldn't sleep alone. I couldn't sleep in a dark room. I would make, and I tried every Indian way to cure it, sleeping with a knife under my pillow, which wasn't very safe to begin with. To sleeping with a scissor under my pillow and like whatnot. Like it was like I would try everything and I would like meditate and I would do everything, but like sleeping alone was really scary. And as I grew older, it just got worse and worse and worse because my awareness of ghosts was, I think, intensifying with age. So yeah, I mean, the fact that I ended up going to a Talk to the Entities class was something that I didn't think see myself doing at all. And then facilitating it, definitely not. But here we are. So that's what got me into Talk to the Entities. And yeah, I mean, now I can sleep anywhere. I mean, I was going to say anywhere with anyone, but that's what I mean. I can't sleep alone with lights off. So, what's been your experience, Datu, Charu, whoever wants to go next? Like, what got you into attending or facilitating a Talk to the Entities class?
Charu, do you want to go next?
Where do you go?
Okay, so of course, like I found access, like I found bars, and it was something that actually started literally changing my stuff with anxiety and like mental health, like depression and stuff when I started off with access. And to be very honest, the whole entity subject was something I thought was not very relevant to me because I head tripper, someone who believed in a lot of, it needs to make like scientific sense or whatever. I thought, yeah, okay, it's good, it's nice, it's whatever. Everything else worked. But then this was this one subject that I didn't really allow myself to know more about. And I remember it was like four years into attending some classes that I found myself in a Talk to the Entities class, and holy shit, it was something that absolutely, I think, took the whole, like my journey with access to a completely different level. And when I say level, I mean, it was what was really required for, I mean, it was literally everything that I was looking for that showed up in that one class and one program. And I also happen to come from a family where my father, like I have dealt with people being labeled with mental health disorders. Like my father was labeled with a severe form of bipolar disorder, also called maniac depression psychosis. So I had dealt with it as a caregiver at home, and I was seeing how um, talk to the entities as a curriculum, it has such a different way of dealing with a subject like this. And after having attended my first foundation class, I can never forget this. I was in Mumbai and I was crossing this huge, this big road. And if you've been to India and if you've tried to cross a road, it's a adventure and an experience by itself. But I was crossing this big road, I remember, and there was this divider right in the middle. I finished crossing one segment, and by the time I reached the middle, I remember there was this weird panicky energy of, oh my god, I'm going to die. And like there was this weird head tripping thing that started in my head that whatever I've done with access the last 3 or 4 years is a waste and blah blah blah, nothing seems to work, all of this is shit, blah 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 blah. And then I was in the middle of that road, like almost incapacitated to do the other half of the crossing, but I had to do it because I had to cross the road. And that's when I remembered a tool from Talk to the Entities, and especially the demon clearing. And clearing, and by the time I reached the other end of the road, I was cleared. And I was like, I remember sitting down like on the other side, and like I literally started like bawling, like crying, looking at how easy it can be, like how there is a totally different possibility with what you thought or what you think is a disability, and something that people, spend years trying to get okay with, but using a simple tool like including this education, including this information. For me, that day was like, when I was like, shit, okay, this is something I'm going to like dwell in more and actually study some more. And yeah, I've been a talk to the entities facilitator for the last 4 years, 4 years, 4 years now, and I absolutely love this subject. It just Shannon and the this curriculum only has gotten bigger, bolder, more inclusive as the years have gone by, and I am extremely, extremely grateful and excited to be here.
Yep.
Charu, do you want to share your experience?
Yeah, so for me, like Prerna said, as a child till 31 years of my age, I've been scared of sleeping alone, and I always wanted somebody to be next to me. And it was a very disempowering space for me, as if I want to travel, then that's not something that I can do on my own. So that was one. And when I was in foundation, access consciousness is something that has changed my life. So I have a lot of gratitude for that. But in foundation, there was a small portion that we cover about entities, and we heard about, like, we learned a little bit about entities. And the moment we reached home, there was somebody in whose house some suicide had happened, and there was a little kid who used to see that child that had committed suicide. So the the simplest way it has been explained in foundation, and I heard some like videos of Shannon, the simplest way the ghost was explained is the easiest way I put it across to that child, and child was gone with that fear and could able to like not think he's crazy because he's seeing the dead. And he doesn't have to be scared, he can just communicate. Like, it just made it so simple. And then I started expanding myself more into this information, and what started becoming more available was I was working with a lot of depressed people and mostly alcoholics. And there was no way like I would work with them, but I was reaching to an end and I couldn't figure out what's next. And that's where the whole information came, like entities and alcohol and addiction like goes hand in hand. And that was my area of interest that I got into. And the more I started using the tools of talk to the entities, addiction, alcohol, drug entities, I like started seeing the changes in people's world. So there are so many stories that it just one after another. I think it's true for all of us. Like, we got pulled into it. It's not only us that we made a choice to be in talk to the entities curriculum, but it was also entities constantly contributing, asking for contribution from both ways, that somehow we just know that we are here. And before that, it was like a limitation and a problem and dealing with that problem. Maybe some of us have antidepressants, some of us had like going to, like you said, all Indian ways of dealing with it, keeping a fast on Tuesdays and everything, to like going here and just like clearing the entities, and or just knowing what's actually true. Like, why am I not able to sleep at night? It's just like an intensified awareness, and how do I deal with this awareness. Like, the whole curriculum empowered me to like live my day to day life basically. Like, till today I've become more equipped to handle myself with talk to the entities tools.
Thank you for sharing, guys. So my question to both of you is, what was the most surprising awareness after attending a Talk to the Entities class, or maybe even practicing the tools of Talk to the Entities? What was really surprising for you? Like, I can go first. What really surprised me was how entities were impacting my relationships, and how I was starting relationships based on entities, not on the people that I was getting into relationship with. Like, I was more interested in, ancestral entities and my like blah blah blah, all of that. So that was like one of the really surprising things that came through for me, was like oh, I don't have to do relationships with entities anymore. I can just do a relationship with a person and not with their entities. What was it for you guys? Like, who wants to go next?
I can go. Like for me, my financial reality has changed. And I remember like I had this conversation with my brother a couple of months back. The day I said yes to talk to the entities facilitators. So it's not like you directly jump to the facilitators, but it was like it was like saying yes to that I know something, and it's not just hunky dory, or it's not that I'm thinking, and it's not that, you know how we sometimes head trip, is it really working, the tools. The day I said yes, my world expanded in so many ways, like the travel, the money, and like you said, like the ease in my relationships came up in such a way. And like to add to that, I recently went to Varanasi, and that conversation was still missing for between you and me, Prerna. The moment I went to Varanasi, I could see the amount of irritation, anger, and stuff that started popping up in my body, which was true for everybody else, but because they didn't have the awareness like what's going on, it was just physical symptoms where they had to pop up the pill to like shut off that intensity. Whereas with the tools of talk to the entities, I had so much ease with everything around me, and that anger, irritation was just knowing that there was so much more things that was around my world, around me, that I could facilitate more.
I guess for me, like two broad, different conversations, but one definitely, I think my relationship with food has been something that's really changed. I remember food was this huge coping mechanism for me. That was one of the ways. Food was one of the things I would use massively to shut off my awareness and to kind of fill my space up with food. That in its own way started kind of changing, and it is still changing like with time. And the other thing I would say is there comes like when you start choosing more, and whether that more also includes like classes with access, and when you start choosing more of life, when you start choosing more, your awareness starts to expand, and that awareness really is not selective. Like you cannot be selectively aware. And one massive missing element that people often, because of point of views, because of fears, kind of forget or not usually include is this untapped world of the spirit world, which you cannot after a point really avoid. So what the whole thing about like adding talk to the entities as a system of work that I practice as a practitioner as well as a facilitator when I facilitate these classes, for me it is almost like this imperative tool that everyone really requires to know, who are on a journey of really expanding their life and like choosing more consciousness. Because beyond a point, it is that these are the tools that really help you to not lose your mind basically, and have more ease and have more of me. So yeah, is there anything else that's popping? I mean, like it's
I'm
I
going.
I know that I
Yeah.
know that it's been a subject that's been so close to like the three of us, and we've received so much from this, the Talk to the Entities curriculum. Is there like a moment, or is there like a time that you could remember out of even the classes that you have say facilitated, where you were like, one of those like those magic moments, as I call them, where you're like, holy shit, like this is one of those moments that, oh my god, like this is what gets me going, this is what gets me facilitating these classes.
There are so many, like um I think during foundations, like my favorite topic was like I would wait for the third day for talk to the entities portion to come, entities, and I would see the magic happening on the third day in the class. Not that everything else wouldn't work, but there were clear cut changes that I would see on third day when I would facilitate talk to the entities, because it would just override the brain, or not the brain but override the mind, like the logical mind, like is it really available, the simplicity of the tools. But what has changed for me during these talk to the entities, like one of the cases that I had was where there was a little girl who was in mental hospital, and the mother's awareness was there is something else that could be done with the child, and she doesn't have to be in a mental hospital. And she reaching out and me using the tools of talk to the entities, clearing, and like basic tools, not even like advanced tools, the basic clearing and demon clearings, like you said. I saw a massive change in 3 days of that child, which no, like she didn't receive it in mental hospital with all the medicines that she was having. That was one of my reasons to come to Shannon's advanced talk to the entities class, which happened in Mumbai some time back. And I was like, okay, there is more, and I know as a doctor I can contribute to people with the simplicity of the tools. And that is where I landed up in that advanced class to explore what's more with this topic that I haven't. And to my surprise, like all, there are so many specialty topics that there is nothing that you can like really miss out, but deal with everything, like children addictions, mental disorders, your house, um, I don't know what, like there are so many other things. So that's like my one thing that led me to go to advance in this, to know what's more available. What is it for you, Prerna?
I mean, there's so many, right? And we're running out of time. So I'm like, where do I go with this? But like, I think one of my favorites is just I met a girl and I literally met her for the first time. And her sister, the entity of her sister came in very strongly. And she's like, tell her to have a baby, tell her to have a baby. Imagine meeting someone for the first time. Like, it's like, hey, do you want to have a baby? I was like, I do not want to have this conversation with a person I've just met. But anyway, turns out that this girl that I just met, we became friends and we were having a conversation. Turns out she was been trying to have a baby for years. And every time she would get pregnant, she would have a miscarriage and the baby wouldn't come through. So I left it at that and then like kept getting to know her as a friend. And she spoke about her sister one day and how the sister just happened to die out of nowhere. And then I could open up that conversation with her that, maybe do you want to like talk to the, I don't know, the soul of your sister? Like, I don't know, like, making it very simple for a person who's not done any like access classes. Like maybe you just want to talk to the soul of your sister and ask her to come through as a baby. So she's like, she was so, I could see the hesitation, but also the desperation to have a baby. And at that point, like her wanting to do anything she could do to have a baby. So she went home and just that night, she just spoke to her sister energetically and said, hey, I'm ready to have you in my life. And I heard from her 3 months later, hey, I'm pregnant and everything's healthy and the baby's come through and the baby's, I think, 6 months old now. And yeah, like just the joy that it brought to her and her family. And so, I mean, like a simple tool like an entity conversation, yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite stories to tell about talk to the entities. So yeah, very close to my heart.
I have
Yeah, what was it
goosebumps.
for you? Yeah, what is
That's
it for you?
amazing.
Touch you.
For me, as I said, like I think we're running out of time with this, but like just it's as I think we could sit here hours and speak about these magical moments. I would just like to remind everyone, or if bring this information forward, that like our lives can be way more magical than we have allowed it to be. And this subject not only really deals with the dead, or it's not just about talking about talk to the entities as a curriculum includes literally, I mean, we also call it the magic and miracle class. Like you're dealing with so many nuances and elements of what makes the universe and what is magical. And that for me has been something that's always kept me going with this work. I just want to also mention that Shannon will be coming to India from the 7th of January to the 14th for an extravaganza. So that is your intro, beginning, I'm not sure if
Intermediate.
there's an intermediate, and then there's an advanced talk to the entities in Goa. And Goa is this beautiful part of India, and she's going to be there for the whole deal. So if you can make it there, it would be great. If you know anybody else who's looking for this subject, like all of that information will be available on Shannon's website. And yeah, I just want to say that I have a lot of gratitude for this work and for Shannon. And Charu,
Thank
there's
you.
something you want to say?
Sweet.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for this. And we see you soon in Shannon's classes somewhere.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.